Thank you everyone for having us here, and I am Atul. I head 8848 Digital, and I have Shadab with me who takes care of the entire front end side for us. So what we plan to kind of present here is something of what we have recently started to use, and I hope this turns out to be helpful for everyone. So the first and the foremost piece when we talk about any system or APIs in general, or as a service provider of reliability is the first thing of what is what we try to cater into any system of what we build. So in general, of what is reliability? You know, as a service provider, we would say that on the hosting side, we are offering you a 99.9% uptime. Or on an SLAs, we will be responding within an hour, solving a query within X number of hours. But these are all measurements of what you do towards reliability. This is not in terms of technical grounds of what will help anyone understand of how does a developer build a system to be reliable. So there are a lot of underlying parameters of what you try to deal when you want to build any system that is going to be reliable. On the APIs, what does it mean for an API to be reliable? From a development standpoint, we would say that okay, the API should be consistent. It should be able to produce reproducible results. It should have latency that is minimal, secure. You would be able to authorize users before they are able to access downtime, so on and so forth. If you were to deal into a system and try to build all of this as a reliable API, and the scenario is reliability is not going to be system-wide. It is going to be specific to certain APIs. This definitely adds a lot of development overhead. And if you were to try to build this, the focus will shift from you building the system towards building a reliable system, and you will convolute the code very easily. And hence, of what we, when we were building systems, we kind of felt the need that we need to evolve from the existing systems, build the custom APIs there, have the standard APIs used, but evolve into an API gateway. So what we are doing is, we are doing nothing. We are just having an API gateway as an open source software built, added in as a layer in between. And the client is communicating to the API gateway, which will kind of branch or batch the requests. And whenever your server or your third-party systems respond back, we may send in as is or combine that as a batch and send a single response back. And the tool of what we use is APISix. It is an Apache. It is under Apache license. It's a lightweight native cloud. It is a cloud-native system, and what it does is it takes care of a lot of overheads of what you would want an API to have in terms of managing traffic, load balancing, your logging, tracking, managing upstreams, having canary, having your releases across versions, circuit breaking, so on and so forth. Generally, in an API gateway, you would break them into six to eight kind of categories, where general is what you would like is there is a request of what you're sending from your client's application, a web or a mobile application, into Frappe, and for example, and you would like to branch that request. So one request from your client side is creating multiple API requests to Frappe or a third party. This is what you would like to do in an aggregate system where, say for example, you are actually connecting to an Amazon and a Flipkart or a marketplace to get your stock back, or you want to post your product from the system to back. So this is Frappe connecting to an API gateway, which is then kind of forwarding a request. You have your APIs configured inside of your client application. And for whatever reason, the endpoint changes. So this is what a redirect would help you solve. Something on an SEO side, either a 301, 302 you could do to actually do a server check to find out whether You want to ping the server and check whether it is responding back, it has failed, has the connection broken. That can happen. On the transformation side, you have a requirement where the request format to your backend service or the response format to the client side has changed. So that is what you can manage without changing the code from the client or the server side. And then you can do a mocking of staging data, you can manage authentications, traffic, securities, and a lot more. So what we would do is, there are certain use cases of what we have kind of solved through, and is what Shadab will kind of help through. So Summit is our e-commerce product of what we have built. It's an open source solution, and what it does is it has a React.js front end. It's a web application which connects purely to ERP Next. Until now, the connection was a direct one, but now what we have done is we have added an API gateway in between, APISix, and what we'll take you through a few use cases of what we have done. Over to you.
I'm audible. Thank you, Atul, for the explanation. Hi, I'm Shadab. I'll be taking you through the use cases, whatever we have used in terms of using the API gateway, APISix, through our product called Summit. So the first use case we have done, that is the rate limiting, which is on one of the API to verify the user, which can be anything, mobile verification or email verification, for the registration purpose we have used. So basically rate limiting is an efficient way to control the traffic. This will this will limit the user to access the API mentioned in a certain amount of time. So what we have done over here, this will basically prevent the denial of service attack, ensuring the fair usage, maintain the system stability. Apart from this, now we'll walk through whatever the videos we have recorded. Okay, so here is the so here is the API gateway, basically API gateway dashboard. So we have first created a consumer which will verify that the user, which will authenticate the user. We have configured two plugins that one will authenticate, that is the keyauth plugin. One will authenticate the user. The second one will limit the count. In the limit count, we have mentioned a 30-second time frame window, which will which will restrict the user after the two successful API fetching, and after the third time when the user will basically ask for the data, it will give you the reject message that your OTP limit has been exhausted and please try after 15 years. You can go through the videos that we have built over here. Later, we have created a simple route. In rate limiting, we have just enabled the plugin keyauth. All the details it will fetch from the consumers as well. It will authenticate through that keyauth.
Okay.
Okay, now in Postman we'll get the data. This is, I think, the other video.
Excellent. I'll just move this out. Sorry, guys. I'll just make it simple. Just play this. This is the redirect. This is the rate limiting, right? Perfect. let it go.
Okay, so in plugin we have, again, you can see, we'll enable the key auth, which will authenticate the user and which will take the configuration from the consumer only. Now in Postman you can get the data for 2 times only. This is the thing that we have done in the first rate limiting, that when the user will hit the API third time, this will show you the message. So by using this, you can limit the user, you can reduce the cost for the company by, you do not want to that user hit the continuous API such that it will reduce the load on the server and further processings.
See everyone. This is good. Project. Okay, it is coming dark, but we'll cut it. We don't want to waste time.
All right. The second use case, we have used the redirect. Redirecting basically will route the client request to the different destination. For example, we have taken the example of discontinued product. Let's assume you have an e-commerce site. You are selling a product called MacBook 14 Pro 2023. Now in 2024, you do not want to lose your traffic. You just want to redirect your traffic towards the MacBook Pro 2020, 2014 basically. So you just create a simple route. You just create a simple route and you just come into that particular route. In a there is a plugin given redirect. Redirect, you can select custom. When you select custom, you will the field will enable custom redirect. There you can mention the URL on which you want to redirect the traffic. Either you can mention the URL or you can mention the particular app version. Through this, all the API calls will be redirect to that particular version. Now you can select the redirect, either you want it to be permanent or you want to redirect it temporary. The host will be the same. Earlier this product was of 2023. Now we'll refresh. The page will get the product of 2024, which we have redirected through the API gateway.
Sorry, I'm just going to switch across few slides. I don't know why this is crashing. Okay. So we'll keep it this way. Just keep it simple. Okay.
So the third use case, we have implemented the caching. Caching is an important aspect in terms of managing the APIs. When you are frequently accessing the API, you will continuously hitting the server. Server will get overloaded. The performance will get hampered, and such that it will the server may get failure, and all. So we have used the third case as a product caching that will improve the performance, bandwidth optimization, as well as improve the scalability. We have used the same path. We have just made the simple route, and we have just configured the product caching. Again, the same host, the path that the host, every API from that path will get access through the /star. You can also configure the query params as well. In the plugin, you just have to enable the proxy cache. In proxy cache, you can see the stars and all, status and all. Now we'll come to the postman and check the responses. The first response, it given 2.92 seconds. The second response we'll get from the cache only. So this is the product caching that we did of our product listing page and all.
So basically what we are trying to achieve over here is that the rate limiting, if you were to apply using Frappe. So Frappe does give you rate limiting as well, but that is site-wide. You block the number of requests across a duration. You do it system-wide, but that is something of what we don't want to do. It's only for OTPs. OTPs are expensive to send. If you are a global player, it is even further more expensive, and you just want to do a rate limiting on the OTPs, and you don't want to kind of flow that across through the system. So you can do that inside of Frappe, but that is a code of what you need to write and kind of play around with it. Using APISix, so what we did was we gave it the same low code, no code feel where you kind of use their interface, you kind of configure that, and you just throw that. You actually can do that as well. With regards to redirect, yes, you can do a redirect as well, but not without changing the code. So you write the hooks, you actually mention redirect as the key, and then you write what you want to redirect from where to where. But this is something of what keeps changing across. And the marketing team would want the home page across some days to throw to a landing page, and then come back after that duration is actually done. So you really don't want to make changes into the code when you want to get these features, and hence something like this actually becomes useful. Caching, maybe not. You can always kind of go down inside the code and make changes because that is more on the performance side. But why not have that flexibility over here where you say, okay, I'm not going to change the home page for the next 10 days. So I actually kind of cache it for a longer duration than a 30 seconds. I can actually make it a few minutes and kind of block the request. The other piece is you can also reduce the number of requests that come to your web server using a layer in between. So that is somehow it helps. Furthermore, use cases of what we are trying directly through the Frappe is how I started, where you have an aggregator API with you, where you want to send one request to multiple, where you want to send one simple request to multiple instances, and that is what we can do. Oh my God. Okay. The other piece of what we have seen across in our mobile applications is the versioning. And every time you want to change an API endpoint inside of your client app, it becomes difficult, because once a version changes, you have to go back into your code and make changes to all the places of where you have done. Even if you have kind of refactored it well, you still have to make changes inside. And then on the web, it's still okay. On the mobile apps, you have to publish to the stores and then wait for all your users to update that application to kind of for them to use the latest version. But what you do at this layer is you kind of have versions. You can have a canary release here where you say 80% traffic is kept on version 1, 20% moves to version 2. The minute you find stability, you can kind of move that across. The last one. The other benefit of what you get is the entire observability piece. You want to understand which APIs are hit, which regions they actually come from. It's not that you can't do that on FC, you can't do that on Frappe, but having an API layer in between segregates those requests completely out, and you can kind of run them through. Perfect. Thank you so much. Sorry for whatever glitches were there, but yeah. Any questions?
So this is built on top of like Nginx or the APISix thing?
The APISix thing is an open source Apache product. They have a licensed product called API7, but APISix is an open source. It's a widely used API gateway. APISix is just one name under the gateways. There are a lot of API gateways, and the benefit of what we have seen, like we selected this because it was open source, but you could select any one, you will get most of these features.
So when you say when the traffic comes from the internet, does it directly land on the gateway, or do you usually have a front-end server, say, something else?
So we have a Next.js application which hits the API gateway, which then hits the ERP Next, like the FC instance. It is its own system of what you install. You can have the request sent to Nginx. You can send that to Apache as well. Most of these features is what you will find at Nginx layer also. So things like gzip caching and all is what you can do at the layer of Nginx and at a layer of gateway also. So there is a lot of intersection of what you would see. But again, it's for us. It happens to be like a low code, no code. So you have a user interface, you can kind of play around with it, you can find it and then make changes. See, yeah, the answer becomes yes, definitely. So you don't expose your endpoints of what the actual frappe.cloud URL would be. There are other ways of doing that, but yes. But essentially, you will use an API gateway for a CSRF, CORS. Mainly, if you are focusing on the security point, it is not just hiding. There are a lot more pieces of what you can do. So something like a rate limiting can also be used to avoid your DOS attacks. So that is also one way of kind of managing it. Perfect. Thank you.